as demand for seamless and instantaneous cross-border payments continues to grow. There's a strong focus on the latest technology and advancements in payment infrastructure, fueling growth and increasing customer satisfaction.
That's right, to understand the changes afoot in the cross-border payment space and where future opportunities lie, we're joined right now by Renata Vilanova Lobo, Head of Cross-Border Payments Solution and Commercialization at JP Morgan Payments. Welcome, Renata. In your role at JP Morgan, how have you seen the cross-border landscape evolve over the past decade?
So delighted to be here. Thank you so much. I have to say that over the past decade, cross-border payments have gone through a massive evolution, not to say revolution, and all driven by tech advancements that also changed customer behavior and then pushed for very important regulatory changes. So I think when we look back with technology, so technology became a lot more accessible to everyone, allowing us to explore new possibilities to simplify how we make payments, right? And I think that always started with fintechs very focused on improving the customer experience and also giving access to folks that didn't have access to financial services or payments. So that was a huge focus initially with fintechs. And then suddenly we saw banks following, the same trend. And then we had this massive community focused on improving the customer experience and also giving access to financial services, including payments. So now you have more people making payments, more people with a good experience, getting comfortable with buying online, creating a new demand. I think as a reaction, we saw regulators looking into this, with a lot of excitement, but at the same time with concerns with respect to new risks that didn't exist in the past. So regulators across the globe started looking at adjustments needed in the regulations to keep up with this new demand and the new supply. I think initial results were seen in the domestic space, where there were plenty of opportunities to improve the customer experience and also less complexity. And I think that later on, we started seeing some results on the cross-border payment space where we have a lot more complexities to solve for. But I think looking back, it's impressive to see how far we have come, right? So today we can make a cross-border payment, from New York to China just with a few clicks on your phone. So it's quite impressive. And I think it's still a lot more to come.
You talk about this new demand. We've seen cross-border payments become higher and higher in that demand across countries, across currencies, in real time. What's driving this growth, do you think?
I think there's a combination of different factors, right? So starting with the market expansion. So again, as technology becomes more accessible, that also had an impact on business, on how companies went digital, which also facilitated global expansion. So you have more companies, operating globally, which is creating a new demand for cross-border payments that didn't exist in the past.
Yeah.
Also, the rise of e-commerce and marketplaces everywhere, also creating a demand, especially on the retail space, that it didn't exist. So I think market expansion in the past few years definitely is a key driver of the growth we're seeing. Then I think that the financial and digital inclusion, again, people more comfortable with, buying online, and also like workers that are sending money to their families, and doing this now digitally, which didn't happen in the past. So I think all of that is also driving and changing customer behavior, creating a new demand for cross-border payments. Then we also have regulatory developments. So, regulation kind of adapting to this new reality and making the cross-border payment framework a lot more accessible and facilitating this growth to happen. And then I think the globalization of trade. So more companies buying and selling to other countries, which is also creating some demand for new currencies, right? And I think more recently we have seen some demand for supply chain de-risking, which is also changing, from where and to where companies are selling and buying from. So I think all of that is really boosting, the volumes we are seeing in cross-border payments.
I think that's a lot of market drivers that you've mentioned. What has JP Morgan observed within the industry, and what are the kind of enhancements that your clients are asking for to really rise to the challenge?
Yeah. So that's a great question. I think it all comes down to speed, transparency, cost, and safety, which might sound very straightforward and very simple, but when it comes to cross-border payments, it might be quite challenging. I think that the G20 principles have been very, very focused on tackling many of these issues, and slowly we're seeing some progress, coming along from banks. I think at JP Morgan Payments, our product strategy has been closely aligned with the G20 principles, starting with applying a lot of the new technologies, AI, machine learning, to drive automation, to really gain operational efficiencies, which then translates to reduced processing time, reduced cost, and better customer experience. So this is something that we've been applying in payments for maybe 8 years or so, with very good results. Then I think in terms of transparency, also new tools available to our clients, provide information pretty much real time. So allowing them not only to see where their payments are, but also to see payments that are coming in and, balances that are available throughout the day so they can make better informed decisions when managing their payments. Now, in terms of security, I think this is definitely a priority, has been for us at JP Morgan. And as we see new technologies, new risks, new threats, including cybersecurity, AML, so we continue focusing heavily on security. And then I think finally, again, on speed, not only we've been applying new technologies to improve and reduce the processing time, but we are now also giving clients the opportunity to pay and receive every single day of the year. So this is a new service that we are very excited to be launching. So it's the JP Morgan Wire 365. So it's the ability to pay and receive every single day of the year, and including U.S. holidays and weekends. So when you think of APAC companies, doing business globally, I think this is huge also on the C2C space, where we see, flows peaking over the weekend. So this can also be a huge advantage, and not to say for liquidity management optimization. So it's a new service that's available to our clients today, and it's pretty much aligned with our goals to make payments faster and seamless.
Exciting times. Let's talk regulation. As we navigate various different regulations across the globe, what should organizations be thinking about when it comes to cross-border and regulation?
So we have seen how much, new technologies have impacted the way we make payments domestically and internationally. I think as companies are highly focused on using new technologies to keep up with competition and to really meet new client needs. This is quite positive and optimistic. On the other hand, we are not seeing regulation evolving as fast as the new technologies are. So there is a mismatch still. So I think that companies should continue exploring new technologies, but not looking only at the bright side of things, right? Not looking only at the benefits that those new technologies can bring to clients, but also looking at the potential risks, right? The benefits, how those technologies can benefit, but also harm customers. And I think we need to find a way to create, the controls in play or the framework to really allow for those new technologies to exist, but without, harming customers. And I think there's a need for more collaboration among the banks, tech providers, regulators, fintechs, to really create this framework that allows us to have multiple channels, multiple payments alternatives, multiple technologies being applied, but in a safe environment. So I think, we cannot just expect the regulators to come up with this new framework. I think it needs to be a collaborative effort towards, making sure that we create this safe environment.
And I want to ask you about ISO 20022. Why is it so crucial for financial institutions?
Yeah, so many of the frictions we face when we are processing a cross-border payment has to do with inconsistencies around data and payments message structure, right? And by defining a global standard, definitely we will see, actually we're seeing operational benefits, especially around reconciliation, investigation, screening, repairs. So this is something that we are seeing as a result of our migration to ISO 20022. But I think these are just a few benefits that we can expect from ISO. I think ISO cannot be seen as a one technical migration only. I think it's really a strategic industry change that can open doors to so many different possibilities as you combine emerging technology with structured and enriched data. So I think the benefits or the possibilities we can create in terms of customization, new services, the client experience, coming from the enriched data that we expect to see flowing through the MX messages is like endless. So I think that's where organizations should be focusing on, and not only banks, including corporate organizations. So I think that the potential that we can see in this enriched data is massive. It has been a very long journey for all of the banks involved. So ISO 20022 has been consuming so much tech capacity budget from all the organizations. So it's now time to start, collecting the returns on this massive investment. So the deadline is around the corner. Mm-hmm. So it's end of next year. So we do expect to see this concluded. But again, the benefits that we expect from ISO can only happen if there is high adoption. Adoption is still low. It's, it's below 30% yet. Mm. So it's a very complex migration. So it needs to be concluded with high adoption and at full scope, meaning we need to be able to receive and send MX messages with enriched data. I think that's the only way we can really unlock all the power of the enriched data we expect to see coming from ISO.
Let's talk about what we can unlock with this enriched data. And then what are banks being able to innovate, do you think, with the utilization of this enriched data? What's the possibilities?
Yeah, so when we think about customization, right? So this is definitely something that can differentiate payment providers nowadays. So the more you know about your customers, the more you can customize for them. The more you can understand their pain points and then create solutions that can really focus on those pain points. So today, I think that when you make a payment, you have very little information on the purpose of that payment, the urgency of that payment. So as we have that information flowing through together with the payment message, you can use that information to then reprioritize your payments. You can have reconciliation done automatically. You can provide information to your customer, in terms not only about a payment that has been concluded, but also a payment that's about to come based on the forecast, and historic information. So I think there are so many different use cases that we can think of. And I think customization and customer experience is in the center of the power of, the data that we can explore from, the enriched structure.
And when you take a look at the macro environment, you see a lot of, challenging things, geopolitics, economic downturns, unforeseen challenges in today's landscape. What role does resilience and resiliency have to play as we face all of these challenges?
Yeah, so when you think about payments, so payments is a business of automation, scale, and stability. Definitely. And resiliency has always been in the center of the industry of payments. But I think initially, the resiliency around payments was very focused on operational resiliency and infrastructure resiliency. I think nowadays with the new landscape, with so many challenges, as you have just mentioned, I think the concept of resiliency around payments has changed, and it's becoming a lot broader, right? Considering other components that also have an impact on our ability to make to process payments at scale and with stability. So things like liquidity access, currency controls, AML, regulatory changes. So all of that together, not to say human resources, so all of that together are now part of the framework when we think about resiliency. So definitely it's a critical, a must-have thing for payments. It's becoming more complex, and it's becoming very, I would say, volatile or very active, right? So something that we need to keep up with. And it keeps changing, but it's a lot broader than what it used to be.
As we look ahead to Sibos in Frankfurt in 2025, but still an important topic for now, of course, how do you view the cross-border impact of the single euro payments area on European and global interoperability?
Yeah. So one of the key barriers to improve cross-border payments has been the lack of interoperability. And this has been a challenge, that has been very difficult to address. And when we think about the challenges, it's not only about the lack of one single standard for payments message, which ISO is now solving for, but it's also about the differences we have in terms of the scheme rules, the liability data privacy rules. The regulation has a big impact on, the challenge that we are facing creating this global interoperability. So I think SEPA has been extremely successful in creating this framework where, rules are the same. And this is definitely improving speed, cost, transparency, customer experience. So they have been extremely successful in the Eurozone. This is also impacting or influencing other regions to do the same. So when we look at APAC or even Middle East, Latin America, so many different regions, discussing similar concept, just to create a regional interoperability, so we can improve the experience of transacting cross-border, at least within specific regions. And hopefully next year, in Frankfurt, we will have more concrete examples of successful cases just like SEPA to talk about, and I think this is one step forward towards getting to the global interoperability that we all aim for.
The change is fast coming, but thank you so much for your comprehensive look at how you're really leading the way at JP Morgan. Thank you so much, Renata. That was Renata Vilanova Lobo, Head of Cross-Border Payment Solution and Commercialization at JP Morgan Payments. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your time at Sibos.
Thank you. My pleasure.